Most people move through life believing their thoughts are their own. They trust that their reactions come from reason, that their decisions are carefully chosen, and that their behavior reflects free will. Yet beneath that confidence lies a quieter truth. Human behavior follows patterns, and those patterns have been studied, mapped, tested, and quietly applied for decades. Not in secret labs or hidden societies, but in advertising, politics, relationships, workplaces, and everyday conversations. Psychology does not ask for permission before it influences someone. It simply works, often before awareness has time to catch up. What makes these mechanisms unsettling is not that they exist, but that they operate below consciousness. People rarely notice when they are being nudged, pressured, or guided toward a reaction. They simply feel the urge, the discomfort, or the certainty, and assume it came from within. This is where so-called dark psychology enters the picture. Not as something inherently evil, but as knowledge that reveals how easily perception can be shaped when the mind is left on autopilot. Understanding these mechanisms is not about manipulating others. It is about recognizing the invisible hands already at work. 1. The power of silence. Silence is one of the most underestimated forces in human interaction. It feels passive, almost empty, yet it is one of the most psychologically active tools in existence. When a response is expected and none arrives, the mind begins to fill the gap on its own. Humans are deeply uncomfortable with unresolved moments. The brain searches for meaning, scanning for mistakes, rejection, or disapproval. As seconds stretch on, discomfort grows, and that discomfort demands relief. People often respond by talking more than they intended, explaining themselves unnecessarily, or softening their position. Silence shifts the psychological burden onto the other person. It creates pressure without confrontation. This is why experienced negotiators pause after making an offer and why confident communicators do not rush to respond. Silence does not overpower through force. It destabilizes through uncertainty. Once this is recognized, silence loses its intimidation. Discomfort no longer signals danger. It signals awareness. 2. Framing. How meaning is manipulated without changing facts. Framing determines how information is felt before it is understood. The facts may remain identical, but emotional reactions change depending on presentation. The human brain does not process reality directly. It processes meaning, and meaning is shaped by context, language, and emphasis. This is why the same situation can feel hopeful or threatening depending on how it is described. The brain relies on shortcuts to conserve energy, using emotional cues to determine importance. When information is framed positively, resistance lowers. When framed negatively, fear increases. Neither response is necessarily logical. Understanding framing means learning to pause before reacting emotionally and asking what is being highlighted and what is being left out. Framing does not lie. It simply directs attention. 3. Reciprocity. The hidden pressure to return favors. Reciprocity is a deeply ingrained psychological rule. When someone gives something, the mind feels compelled to give something back. This instinct evolved to maintain trust and cooperation in early human groups, but today it often overrides boundaries and logic. Even unsolicited help creates a sense of obligation, and that obligation produces discomfort until it is resolved. This is why free samples increase sales and why small favors lead to larger commitments. The darker side of reciprocity appears when generosity is strategic rather than sincere. Awareness restores balance. Gratitude does not require compliance. Appreciation does not require agreement. Separating kindness from obligation is a powerful form of self-protection. 4. The illusion of truth effect. The brain confuses familiarity with accuracy. When information is repeated often enough, it begins to feel true regardless of evidence. This is known as the illusion of truth effect. Familiar ideas are easier to process, and ease feels correct. Over time, skepticism fades not because the claim is proven, but because it feels known. This effect explains why slogans stick, why misinformation spreads, and why false narratives persist even when challenged. Awareness alone does not fully prevent it. The most effective defense is limiting repeated exposure and questioning the source rather than the frequency. Truth is not determined by repetition. 5. Labeling. How identity shapes behavior. Labels shape behavior by shaping identity. When people are described in a certain way, they often act to remain consistent with that description. The brain seeks alignment between self-image and action, and inconsistency creates discomfort. Positive labels can inspire growth, while negative ones can trap people in limiting patterns. The most powerful labels are subtle, embedded in phrases that suggest what kind of person someone is. When identity is activated, logic takes a back seat. Defending against this means separating behavior from identity. Actions can change without redefining who someone is. Labels are suggestions, not truths. 6. Scarcity. Why limited access increases desire? Scarcity creates urgency by triggering fear of loss. When something appears limited or exclusive, the brain prioritizes it automatically. Long-term thinking fades, replaced by impulse and emotional pressure. Scarcity narrows focus, making immediate action feel necessary. This effect is powerful whether scarcity is real or manufactured. Artificial deadlines and limited availability exploit emotional responses rather than rational evaluation. Time is the antidote. What has real value does not disappear under reflection. Urgency that demands instant action often benefits someone else more than it benefits you. 7. Authority bias. Why titles override truth? Authority bias causes people to trust confidence, status, and appearance of expertise more than evidence. In complex environments, deferring to authority reduces mental effort. This shortcut is efficient, but it becomes dangerous when authority replaces evaluation. Confidence can be performed, and credentials can be misused. The defense is not disrespect, but discernment. Question claims independently of presentation. Respect authority without surrendering judgment. Truth does not require a title to be valid. These 7 psychological mechanisms are not secrets or conspiracies. They are features of the human mind, operating quietly because the brain values efficiency, belonging, and safety. Understanding them does not make someone manipulative. It makes them aware. Awareness interrupts autopilot. It creates space between stimulus and response. Once these patterns are recognized, they lose much of their power. Influence thrives when it goes unnoticed. The mind cannot be easily guided when it understands the path being used. If this breakdown made you see everyday interactions differently, share which of these psychological mechanisms stood out to you the most. Drop your thoughts in the comments, let others know what surprised you, and if you found value in this kind of deep, story-driven analysis, support the channel by liking the video and subscribing for more high-quality documentaries that expose how the human mind really works.